I know some of you were reviewers for the Press for Completion grant proposals from leader colleges, and we found the participation of the coaches and the input that we got from the coaches to be invaluable in terms of our review process. So we're really glad that we have another strong group of reviewers this time, and so thank you for participating. And with that, I'm going to first ask Kennard if he's recording this.
Yes, I am.
Great. For those who are not with us, they can then see it later. And then with that, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of walk through my presentation. And again, just stop me if you have any questions. Okay?
Got it.
Great. So just a brief overview. The Catalyst Fund was made possible through a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The purpose of the grants are to spur the scaling of student success interventions with a proven history of increasing student achievement among a significant population of students. We went back and forth with the leader colleges while they were preparing their proposals just about what was proven history of increasing student achievement. And you'll see in the RFP and further along in these documents that really means having a baseline measure and 3 additional years of performance data on one of the 5 Achieving the Dream student achievement measures. So that's something to note as you're reviewing. It was open to all current active Achieving the Dream leader colleges, of which there are 50 at the time. And there will be 4 leader colleges that receive awards. As you know, we've had 19 leader colleges that applied. It is a pretty competitive process, but it was a far less number of leader colleges that applied this time than for the Press for Completion grants when we had 36 leader colleges apply. Each college that receives an award will receive $200,000 to $250,000 per institution. Now the grant funds will be covered from November 1st, 2012 to October 31st, 2014, so 2 years. But because the goal of the Catalyst Fund is to spur the expansion of interventions, the colleges are actually expected to support 2 additional years of implementation after the initial grant funds expire. So this means that all of their timelines, measures, goals will actually be across 4 years, with the first 2 years being funded by the Catalyst Fund grants and the second 2 years being funded by the college. So here's I know you all received the timeline for the Catalyst Fund review process, but I'm just going to go over briefly what we're looking at here. So on September 13th, you will receive the reviewing assignments, and you'll have about 4 to 5 proposals assigned per reviewer. September 13th to the 24th is when you'll be completing your reviews, with all of the reviews due by September 24th. That's Monday, September 24th. So this is a pretty tight turnaround, but hopefully with only 4 to 5 proposals per reviewer, it won't be too burdensome. If you have trouble meeting that deadline, please do get in touch with me and let me know, and so that we can kind of work out, when we can get all of your reviews in. Oh, the reason it is a tight turnaround is because ATD will be processing the reviews from September 24th to October 3rd for a final selection on October 3rd. Well, a committee selection meeting on October 3rd. Just so you know, even though your reviews will be due by September 24th, there may be some clarifying questions or additional information that we might need from you during this processing period. And finally, all of the colleges will be notified no later than October 16th about their acceptance into the grant program. So there are a few steps to reviewing the Catalyst Fund proposals. Those who are involved in the press for completion review process will be happy to know that there are no institutional summary sheets that need to be filled out this time. What will be required is for each reviewer to submit an online form via SurveyMonkey, and we'll go over that in a bit. But basically, here are your steps to reviewing the Catalyst Fund proposals. One, review all of the materials, and including the Leader College webinar that can be found on the Catalyst Fund site. So this includes the RFP, all of the resources that are listed there, and there's a link to the Leader College webinar that goes over the grant with Leader Colleges. Please also review the Catalyst Fund Reviewer's Guide, and especially the key terms section. This is a pretty defined grant. I know the Press for Completion grant, for those of you that participated in that review, the RFP was not as specific about what we wanted because that was the design of the grant. But this one is pretty clearly laid out for the colleges. So it is going to be very important that you're familiar with those key terms and their definitions as you're reviewing the proposals. Watch the Catalyst Fund Reviewer webinar, which you're doing now, so you're already ahead. Receive the reviewing assignments, which I'll send out tomorrow. And then you'll need to download the signed institution proposal narratives and Catalyst Fund templates, and we'll go over how to do that. There are also instructions for exactly how to download those proposals and templates in the reviewer's guide. And then you'll want to complete your reviewing form. Something to be said about the reviewing form is there's a paper form that's in the reviewer's guide, and a lot of the press reviewers found that it was helpful to record your answers in that paper form and then go to SurveyMonkey and submit your answers by copying and pasting them all in one sitting. Just want to go over briefly how to download the proposals and templates. So here's the link that that you would go to, and hopefully it's going to take me there. There we go. So really, you go to the link, and here you'll see all of the college proposals and templates. I suggest that you organize these, you sort it by the name. For some reason, it won't stick every time I sort it. And I tried very hard to have it be sorted by name, but it didn't like that. But let's say that you're going to be reviewing Broward College. You would go over to column F, which is where you have the PDF proposal narrative. You would click on the arrow here to the right and simply hit download. And then you would just indicate where on your computer you would like to have that download go to. Press save, and it will go ahead and download it. Okay, so you want to be sure you know where you're saving it to so that you can go back and find it. The same thing is true for the Catalyst Fund templates. Simply go to download, select where you'd like it to be, press save, and it will download. Just so you're aware of what these templates look like, I'm not sure if everyone has had an opportunity to look at them. But you'll see each one of the Excel templates has 3 tabs. Okay, the first one is a timeline where the college has set forth their timeline for implementing their proposed work plan. The second one is the measures, okay, and this is pretty key because the measures are what they're saying they're going to do. They're kind of their benchmarks that they've set out. And again, you'll see they have annual 2-year goals, 3-year goals, and 4-year goals. And then finally, the budget. And the budget review that the reviewers will be doing is really looking at how they're saying they're going to spend funds and making sure that this is aligned with the work plan that they've set forth in their proposal. So that's how you download your proposals. So what is this online review form? Basically, it's SurveyMonkey, which many of you probably are aware is not the best system for proposal reviewing. I am hoping in the future that we'll have a wonderful proposal reviewing system where reviewers will be able to log on, enter their comments, review their proposals, save their notes, come back later, and all those wonderful things that go along with a great reviewing process. SurveyMonkey is not that, unfortunately. So you cannot enter just a part of a review and then finish later. You really do have to do it all in one sitting. And so, like I said, the press reviewers last time basically used the review form in the reviewer's guide that they had to copy, to enter all of their answers, so in an actual Word document. And then when they were totally complete and sure that they had their final answers, they went to the SurveyMonkey link and copied and pasted and put all of their answers into SurveyMonkey. Renee or Martha, do you want to say anything about that process and how that worked for either of you?
Actually, it wasn't terrible at all, and it beats the hell out of working with the SurveyMonkey, at least the format where we used to submit our visit reports. It's definitely a lot better to work off that other document and then cut and paste.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think the annual reports were done through Adobe Forms, and I actually I looked at that for this review and decided against it since I know that there had been some trouble. So so you know, in the reviewer's guide does have you know, pretty much it's exactly the same review form that you have on the SurveyMonkey. So as long as you fill out a document for each one of your institutions, you can then, you know, sit online and enter it, no problem.
Sarah, this is Martha, and I think it worked really well last time with those instructions that you just gave. So it was very effective.
Great. Hopefully it will be exactly the same way this time. I just wanted to kind of point out a few things, things to watch out for in the proposal. I kind of alluded to one of them already, about the data. So they really do have to have data to show that the interventions have been successful, and we specified that that's a baseline data, at least 1 year of baseline data, and then 3 additional years of performance data. Something to also look out for is the presentation of data. I just underwent a Leader College review process for those applying for initial Leader College status. And I've come to a few conclusions based on that. One, that Achieving the Dream is not clear enough in how we ask for data to be submitted for certain application processes, such as Leader College. And then the second one is that, and this is not a new conclusion, but people don't necessarily read the directions and submit the data in exactly the format that we ask for. I think particularly with this application, it is important that we be able to see the number of students as well as the percentages that they represent in the target population or the total enrollment. So I would ask that you look out for that, and there is a criteria to rate them on the presentation of data. Something to look out for in the timeline, there is a timeline in the RFP that is kind of a general timeline. So something to look out for when you're reviewing their timeline is, does it meet the timeline that was laid out in the RFP by Achieving the Dream? Measures, are the measures ambitious but attainable as well? You know, we don't want them to set themselves up for failure, but we do want them to be ambitious in what they're planning to accomplish. And finally, commitment. I think that you know, one of the things that Achieving the Dream will really be looking for is if the institution shows real widespread commitment to expanding this initiative and intervention. You know, is this just something, you know, they were like, oh, hey, this would be a great idea, or can you tell that there's really a lot of thought behind this intervention? It's really, you know, been a keystone of their student success efforts, and they really want to bring it to the next level, and that they have the buy-in within the institution to do that. I think those are some key things to look out for. I want to pause here. I'm happy to kind of go over some of the key terms if everyone thinks that would be helpful or not. But I thought I'd just pause here and see if there are any questions or comments. Anyone would like to ask anything? Is this all as clear as mud, or?
Actually, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm fine with it so far.
Okay, so especially, I guess, Donna, and Vilma, and Mark, and Terry, this all kind of makes sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, great. So with that, I'll just kind of go on to talk a little bit about some of these key terms that were really that were laid out for the Catalyst Fund proposals. The first one is actually a key tool, and this is the loss momentum framework, which a lot of you are probably really familiar with. So Achieving the Dream really thinks this is a useful lens for looking at the student pathway. So where are we losing students? Where can we help students progress? And in the RFP, it required colleges to identify where in the continuum their interventions lie. So they were required to identify if their intervention addressed the entry point, the progress point, completion point, or connection point, and kind of say how their intervention addressed, you know, prevented the loss of students and helped to increase momentum. So that's something that you'll want to be aware of. There's a link to this this framework here, and also all the links are in the reviewer's guide. Some of the key terms to look out for, one, what is a successful intervention? So again, this is, you know, where you have the data, and we ask for both quantitative and qualitative data demonstrating that the interventions have successfully increased student achievement in at least one of the 5 Achieving the Dream student outcome measures for 3 or more years. So it's not just that you're implementing an intervention, but are you getting results with this intervention? Significant student reach. There's a lot of talk about what is a significant student reach? You know, how do we know if a target student population is really integral to the overall student success agenda at the institution? And is this target population, bless you, representing a significant portion of the total student enrollment at the institution? So the Catalyst Fund is really about going big. You know, so we want the colleges to be focused on expanding interventions that are really going to benefit a large population of students. You know, so there's two things involved. Is this a large student population, and is this, you know, a vitally important student population? You know, is this developmental ed students they're focusing on? You know, there's a clear reason, obviously, why that's kind of key to their student success work, since that's a population that's been traditionally hard to get to progress through to completion. Defining scale. So Achieving the Dream has been working a lot on how to define scale. And for this grant, we decided we would adopt the More to Most framework. The More to Most Scaling Up Effective Community College Practices Guide was put out by MDC a few months ago. And it was based on the input of the DEI colleges. And it really said that scaling occurs when an institution moves from serving some students to more students to most students within a target population. And that sounds really good, but what is some students? What is more students? What's the number or percentage of a target population that equals some, more, most? That wasn't set forth in the guide. So Achieving the Dream assigned some for the purposes of this grant. And in general, we think this is a pretty good way of looking at the some to more to most framework. It's based on some input from Achieving the Dream staff and some evaluators. So some is considered 25% or less of the target student population. You'll note that's not the total student population, but the target student population. So if a college is focusing on first-year students, they might be serving some of their first-year students currently if they're serving them 25% or less of all first-year students with the intervention. More is considered 25.1% to 60% of the target student population, and most is when you are serving 60% or more of the target student population. So Catalyst Fund proposals have two options. They can currently be in the some category where they're serving 25% or less of the target student population, and say we're gonna target going from some to more with an ultimate goal of most. Or they could currently be serving more, or 25.1 to 60% of their target student population, and decide to move towards scaling most. I don't have it on the slide here, but there's also another way that they could scale. Say you're already scaling, and say you're already serving 61% of your target student population. There's value to scaling up within the most category as well. And so as long as a college can propose that they're going to seriously scale up within the most category, we would accept that as well. And another thing that can be done for those institutions that are already in the most category is InterInstitutional Scale. And that's scaling interventions to serve significantly more most students within a target student population outside of the institution. We realize that many of the colleges will be focusing in on intra-institution scale, which is scaling within the institution. But I know that we do have a few proposals that are focusing on inter-institution scale, some in addition to intra-institution scale. Finally, two terms to take note of are breadth and depth. So also in the More to Most Guide to Scaling that MDC put out, there was a distinction between breadth, which is really increasing the reach or scope of an intervention, and depth, which is increasing the intensity of an intervention. So the Catalyst Fund grants are really most relevant to breadth. That's, expanding the number of students involved. However, we're not opposed to colleges, proposing scaling of depth of an intervention. So the colleges were told that they could talk about scaling depth as well, but they would have to be pretty clear about how this aligns with the overall goals of the grant in order for it to be seriously considered and chosen.
Can you go back to the previous slide? This
Sure.
is Ms. Selma. I have a question. On the interinstitutional scale, if a college is proposing to kind of share with other colleges what's been successful at their institution, how do we scale how do we rate that on the sum to more to most? Is there going to be some additional guidelines for that piece of it? What's the expected kind of threshold on what the kind of mentee institutions are expected to implement as part of that?
Yeah, so that would all be laid out in their proposal, and the questions are pretty clear that they have to tell you in their proposal whether they're planning to go from some to more to most or from more to most, and give you percentages. So it's pretty clear in the RFP that they have to be specific about that. So I don't think you'll have trouble identifying it.
Okay.
They also have to specifically say whether they're planning to scale intra-institution scale within or inter-institution scale without. And you will have the opportunity when you select these, inter or intra, that you could select both because the SurveyMonkey allows you to select both because an institution could be proposing both.
All right, thanks.
I guess I would say if you come across any problems, with that, just feel free to let me know because, I'd have to dive down into kind of the details of each proposal to see how that would play out.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Sarah, this is Martha. Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Sure.
On the interinstitutional, I noticed Lucelma was talking about, sort of a mentor-mentee relationship. Is that how you see this scale, or do you see it differently than that? Or are they supposed to explain how they're doing the interinstitutional?
Right. So that's a great question, Martha, and thank you for asking that because I know that Achieving the Dream has been really focused on kind of this peer coaching model. This is not necessarily a light touch peer coaching model, so to speak. I don't really like I guess light touch is not the right word, but basically they have to have a hard plan for scaling beyond their institution. So it's not just, saying we'll work with this institution to try and, expand this intervention. They've got to have, a pretty strong argument that they're going to be, working with this college in this way, with these activities, with these goals, so that we're sure that the intervention will scale to this many students by this time. So it does have to be very specific. It has to be a set out plan. Does that answer your question, Martha? I'm not sure whether I was...
Yes. Yeah, no, that was
Okay.
very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
And that actually answers the question that I had also.
Okay.
Because I was concerned that that maybe there wouldn't be enough detail, but if the instructions include those very detailed, because there is an expectation not just for the mentoring piece, but actually the institution will be scaling, the partner institutions will be scaling that intervention.
Yeah, and so you might think of the way I've kind of been thinking of this inter-institution scale is, are you at some, so to speak, with if you look at the population of, you're no longer looking per se at the population of first-year students in just your institution, but now you're looking at, let's say, first-year students within the entire state or within this regional group of colleges. So I kind of see it as I don't know if the colleges feel it this way, but I kind of see it as a way of expanding the target the total number of the target population. And it's pretty specific in how they have to set out their timeline, their goals, and their activities. But if you come across an application where you're struggling to kind of identify those, first off, I think that's a heads up in terms of the proposal and the strength of the proposal. But secondly, please don't hesitate to give me a call or drop me an email with questions. I will be going through and reading all the applications, all the proposals as well. But I'll be kind of getting to them here and there whenever I get a chance to read them. So, if you have a proposal that's particularly hard or you want to discuss, just drop me an email so I can, move that to the top of my list. I think those are all the key terms I have. Are there any more questions about any of those key terms?
Not about the key terms, but I did go to the Catalyst, to the ATD Catalyst site, and either I'm missing it or I don't see the actual RFP. I see the RFP templates and all of those additional documents that you mentioned, but is there an actual request for proposals that should be posted in there also?
Yeah.
Because I just don't see it.
Oh, you know what happened? Okay. So, yeah, that's a good point. So yesterday I asked them to update that the deadline for the Catalyst Fund proposals had passed. So originally they had it posted right here, and they must have removed the RFP as well. So I will work on...
Can you send us a copy?
Yeah, so I'll work on getting this posted online, but in the meantime, right after this call, I will send all of the reviewers a copy of the RFP.
Thank you.
So yeah, so this is the Catalyst Fund site where there's, all of the different resources. Here's where the link is to listen to the Leader College call, which again kind of goes over some of these key terms. And I think probably the biggest benefit of this call, because you can read a lot of the information that's in it, but is the questions that the Leader Colleges ask and how we respond to them. And you can download the presentation from the call there as well. In the reviewer's guide, I just want to walk you through that really quick. So here you'll see you have your timeline, and then the proposal instructions, which include the links to the Catalyst Fund site, and then, of course, how to download the proposals. And it includes some screenshots to help you out there if you're having difficulty. And then here's where you get into the sample reviewing form. And this is what Renee and Martha were talking about, where you can enter all of your information within this document for each one of your colleges. So here you have the key terms section, and this is taken from the RFP, so you can also review it in the RFP. And then here, for example, you can enter your answers here, and then when you go to the SurveyMonkey, what you can just do is copy and paste each one of your answers. And here's where you have criteria rating, so each section will be a place where you kind of rate how whether you agree with them meeting the criteria or not. Something to note in the evidence of success part of this, we will be weighting the certain questions by 4 and then by 3. At the end of each section, we do ask you for your comments. Just provide any aspects of the institution's Part 2 submission that were particularly impressive, or any aspects of the institution's Part 2 that were of concern. And I've given some examples at different places for people in the type of comments we're looking for. I can say from the press reviews that these comments were super helpful. It was just an opportunity for the reviewer to really say what was stood out or was strong in each section of the proposal, and we really relied on those comments a lot. And then finally, at the end of the review, we'll kind of ask for an overall reaction, impression to the proposal. So what's your gut feeling or reaction about this, so to speak? Is this a college that's going to be successful in kind of your review of their proposal, or do you have some reservations about their ability to really scale? So that's it, really. I will be sending out the assignments tomorrow. I have made assignments, but I figured on this call I would remind everyone that if they have any conflicts of interest with any of the leader colleges that applied, to let me know. I think I've heard from almost everyone, but I wanted to just remind everyone to just drop me an email saying, oh yeah, I used to work at this college, so I really shouldn't be reviewing that college, or I'm married to the president of this college or something like that.
So
I'm not married. Listen to Selma, I'm not married to the president, but I did work with her for 15 years at South Texas, so I think that would kind of.
So that kind of thing would be good to.
That would kind of create a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So confessions should be via email, not now.
Oh, okay.
Am I correct?
Yeah, send me an email so I have it when it's hard for me to remember all the little details, and the beauty of emails, it's all right there. So do send me an email, but I will be sure to check. And I think with Alma too, I knew that you used to work there, so I think I intentionally did not assign you to that.
Okay.
To South Texas, but yeah, so that's definitely the type of conflict of interest that we want to be aware of. And you all received the list of colleges that applied. So just shoot me an email by the end of the day so that I can finalize those assignments and then send them out to you all tomorrow morning.
Sarah, are there 2 reviewers for each one of them?
Yes. Yes, 2 reviewers for each, and then we'll add up the scores for each, and that'll be the total score for the institution.
This is Renee. Back to the confession. That email should go to your personal one or the Catalyst one?
Ideally, it would go to the Catalyst one. I know
Okay.
you all are probably think I have, identity disorder or something, because I have so many Achieving the Dream email accounts now. But the idea is that, when we can finally get someone in to help with things that maybe multiple people can monitor the account. And also it helps me to keep a record of all the Catalyst correspondence together.
Got it.
And I did put, again, I did put my contact information. So I put the Catalyst at achievingthedream.org, but of course I check all of the emails. So if you're really having trouble getting a hold of me, you can also use my other email. And this is my direct line. During the review period from tomorrow to the 24th, when I'm not in the office, I will put my phone on to forward to my cell. So you can call me at any point in the day. I know many of you may be working on this at night or something and have questions or trouble accessing downloading the proposals or anything like that. So you shouldn't hesitate to go ahead and give me a call, and we can try and work it out right away, because I know it's a very tight timeline. Any questions or concerns or comments?
Will you be making the presentation available to us?
This presentation?
The one that you used when you were kind of going through the key terms and all of that.
Yeah, I can make that available to you. I recommend also the key terms are all listed right here in your reviewer's guide as well.
Okay.
But I will send you all the PowerPoint as well as the link to the recording. I doubt that you'd want to listen to this recording again, but if you're, if you're really feeling ambitious. Any other questions?
No questions.
No questions. Okay, I guess that's a good thing. I imagine that as you're going through some of this information in detail, it's a lot of information, and please, as you have questions, feel free to call or email. I forget what's clear and what's not clear because I'm so in the weeds with this, so please don't hesitate to ask.
Good.
Well, great. So be sure to send me any conflicts of interest emails, and look for the reviewing assignments by tomorrow morning. And if you have any other questions or issues, do let me know. I'll also be drawing up contracts for once the reviewing assignments are final. We can put the names of the colleges you'll be reviewing in your contract so that you can be reimbursed, or not reimbursed, paid for your reviews. So that will be coming soon as well, and you can use that then to invoice us for each one of your reviews.
Okay.
Very good.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Well,
This is very helpful.
Yep.
thank
All right,
you
guys.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.